Hey there, good morning. Welcome to Coffee with Connie. I'm Connie Fuksa with Foote Title Group, where we not only protect your home ownership, but we also make sure that your closing process is smooth and simple and that you understand the process every step of the way. Our goal is to make sure that your closing is as much fun as the excitement of buying that new home. So I like to get on a couple times a week and talk to you about things that come up. Things that come up at closing, things that we've experienced through closings, questions that I get from people that are tuning in and people that I know. So if you have questions, please ask me, because if you ask me a question, more than likely that means somebody else out there listening has the same daggone question. So I figured I would touch base this morning because again, I got a question from the crowd and I wanted to talk about that for a minute with you guys. But let me say, sorry I didn't touch base with you on Tuesday. Usually I tune in on Tuesdays and Thursdays between 7 and 8:30. Tuesday I was actually on the road and I had some people with me and it was a little complicated to do that. So I'm very sorry that I missed you on Tuesday, and I'll try to catch up with some other thoughts and some other things that have been going on. Today, I wanted to talk specifically about the Maryland withholding tax because, as I said, when I get questions from the crowd, I like to make sure that I answer those questions. So definitely ask when you have questions. So the Maryland withholding tax is this, and as you know, it doesn't, it's specifically in Maryland, it doesn't happen in other states. But if you're selling a piece of property and you are not a Maryland resident, several years ago, the state of Maryland decided that they thought they were losing out on tax revenue because people should have been paying that when they filed their income taxes at the end of the year. There should have been some withholding tax collected from the sale of the property that was not your primary residence because you are not a resident of Maryland and that property is still located in Maryland. And so they felt that they were losing out on some of that revenue. So what they decided to do is require that those funds were collected at closing for any property that was sold that one or all of the sellers are not Maryland residents, but the property is located in Maryland. So what the tax is it's a 7.25% of the ownership of the person that's not a Maryland resident. So let's talk about that for a second. The person that is not a Maryland resident. So if you own a piece of property by yourself, you rent it, or you're renting that property out, you've taken residency in another state that is not the state of Maryland, you are now not a resident of the state of Maryland. So that piece of property that you rent out in Maryland is subject to this withholding tax when you sell that property. If you're an individual, it's 7.25%. So a person that has decided to establish their residency someone else could be affected by this withholding tax. Now, there are some exemptions that the state of Maryland allows, and you would have to look at those exemptions and apply for it in advance of closing. Here's the other caveat. It's not something that you file on your income taxes. It's something that must be paid at closing. So if you feel as though you should receive an exemption, you actually have to apply for that exemption and have it approved before closing. Because we, as closing title companies, we have to collect that amount at your closing, and we have to pay it when we go to record the documents to secure the new interest and the new loan. So what that means is, if you aren't aware of that information, and what usually we try to find out as we're going through the process of doing the research about the title, that you may not be a Maryland resident. But if you're not a Maryland resident, or you know someone that's selling a property that's not a Maryland resident, you need to make them aware that this is something that's going to be collected at closing, and there's no way to get the exemption at closing. We have to collect it, otherwise we cannot record the documents transferring the property to the new owner and securing their new mortgage. So the county is going to require that, and we have to collect and pay that amount at closing. So you'll see that money collected on your closing statement when you actually go to closing. And as I said, if you feel like you are eligible for an exemption, there's links on our website, www.footetitlegroup.com. Go to the sellers page and then go to the helpful links. And it says right there, Maryland withholding information, and you click on it, it takes you right to the state of Maryland site. It takes you to the document that tells you how the calculations are calculated, and it's on the income. So the calculations are based on the sales price less all of the expenses, and so it's a tax on the income or the amount received from the closing. So that link will take you right to the page in the state of Maryland where that form is and where all the information is, and also where the exemption forms are. So if you feel like maybe you are eligible for an exemption, then you need to go on there and check that out, fill out that form, submit it, get it back from the state of Maryland, because we need that form to present with our documents in order to get those documents recorded. Because the state recorder's office does know, depending on how you're listed on that property, if you're a resident, if you're an occupant of that property, if you're not an occupant of that property and your address is in another state, more than likely they're going to question it and we're going to have to provide some documentation. So you want to look at that and make sure you have that addressed before you actually get to your closing. Your real estate agent is going to be a really good source of information for that, but if for some reason that's not available, please share that information with people that you know. And as I said, there's a link on our website that's very easy to get to rather than navigating through the state of Maryland site. That'll take you right to the form and right to the description of the information on who has to pay it and what the information is. There's also a requirement for entities that are out of the state of Maryland. So if you own a piece of property that is located in Maryland and it's a rental property or a business property, well, I guess if you own it in a business, it's all business property, but a commercial piece of property, I should say, then it may be that you may be subject to that withholding tax as well. And it's a little bit more for a business, and the forms are a little bit different. So the information is in there. And some of the exemptions may be different as well. So that information is all on that link on our website. And hopefully we can help you answer some questions or navigate you through some of that stuff. So hopefully I helped you with a little bit of information today. As I said, I love getting information and questions from you because those are the real-time things that people are thinking about. So if I can help you with any of that information, please reach out to me. If I can't and I don't know the answer, believe me, I'll definitely be looking it up for you. But this came from a friend of a friend who actually lives in Florida and has a piece of property here in Maryland, and we wanted to try to help them get the right information. Hopefully it helped you get a little bit of information. So thank you so much for tuning in. Hey, Robbie, how are you this morning? Hi, Kathy. How are you today? Thank you guys for taking the time to tune in. And if you found the information we talked about valuable, please click the share button, because that means you're sharing with people that know you that may find the information helpful as well. So hopefully I helped you with some information today. I love talking to you guys a couple times a week on Coffee with Connie and answering other questions that you have. So reach out to me anytime, either through Messenger or Connie Fuksa, www.foottetitlegroup.com. All of our team members in Maryland and Virginia are there, and they're all well-versed in both states and can help you answer questions in both of those areas. So hopefully we helped you today. You guys have a fantastic day. I love talking to you, and I'll be back with you again soon. I'm Connie Fuksa with Foote Title Group. Thank you for tuning in to Coffee with Connie. We protect your home ownership and make sure that your home closing process is smooth and simple, and we keep you in the loop every step of the way. Have a great day, guys, and I'll talk to you soon.